Being a Jain, we don't believe in God.
Yes.
We don't believe in God. And we don't think that, okay, there's one person who decides my destiny. I mean, we are told that you have to decide your own destiny. And you are the master, you are the boss. And you are the God also. I mean, that's not that key. I could take it that way, but it was there, as ingrained, as a DNA. And that was very helpful in a way. So therefore, I said, I will. Suppose, for example, if I have to think of spirituality, I'll think of Vivekananda or something like that. But in case of, I think of, great leader, I'll think of Gandhiji. But there are many like that, or say, revolutionary like Subhash Chandra Bose or many other. So you see, I wanted to be different. So I took something from somebody. For example, at my philosophical level, I was always inspired by J. Krishnamurti. And I used to go to his lectures whenever he used to come in 60s and 70s, And that is how I met Upul also during that time, because she was a great thing. Many people, those who inspired me and those who this thing, but not like one person who has changed my. The only person who has been instrumental in changing is my life quite a bit is Mulk Raj Anand. And but not that I say I want to be Mulk Raj Anand.
That's it. He left you alone. He left you to find your own way. He merely told you to look for it and shake you up a little. That is wonderful. And the J. Krishnamurti line might have taken you towards education or something like that if you had.
Well, he gave me because he was, I think, J. Krishnamurti was perhaps the most important contemporary philosopher in our times. And because of his philosophy was very abstract. That is what impressed me. He was not being unconventional, being, not in a frame, but out of the frame. Thinking, that came from him. And also, he had a great kind of capacity to induce that kind of, looking at things differently. He'll say, don't look at things, see things. Don't know things, understand it. That is how deeper understanding in life comes, If you look at things, it fades away. But if you see things, it stays with you. And in my case, it was, because I was not educated in the formal way, I was very hesitant in public speaking. But I can talk, I can discuss. But public speaking, I've never done. I'm very scared of writing, also. But I'm very fond of listening. I'm very fond of watching.
That's extremely well put, because it just shows you that school and college are straight jackets. They take you in one direction and you are under an impression.
Well, it is necessary for a while. But that's why the whole education is changing now.
I hope so.
I hope so.
So, as I understand it, Mr. Jain, in the 1980s, what is very important for people to realize is that before INTACH came into being in 1984, you had already taken some steps in the direction in which INTACH policy was to be formulated later. There is the Sanskriti complex being created. There is your intervention in or help with the Neemrana project. And later, when INTACH is created, you have the development of the Delhi chapter of it, in which you took some extremely important steps, very innovative ones, to create public awareness. Now, this is three completely different areas by which people became aware of heritage and were able to participate in conserving it. So would you like to tell us something first perhaps about the Sanskriti complex?
You see, what happened, I personally feel, although many things happened in the 80s, but I think the process about heritage conservation and awareness started long before. I think it was perhaps, during Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay's interventions. or even that kind of thing, that whole revival of the craft and crafts museum and many things were established. So, and in 75, they enacted a law about archaeological survey, this antiquity law, which was wrongly done in my opinion, because it instead of helping preservation of our heritage, things started being smuggled out. That's a different story. One can talk about it separately. But I personally feel that in 80, because I bought this land in 82, and almost the same time, I was also I was a founding partner of Neemrana Food Palace, and we bought the same also at the same time. By then, Sanskriti institution was established, as I said earlier, 79, and we were doing our awards and all that. Museum thing, I have started developing a small collection, but I never thought that it will be kind of a will take the shape of a museum and all that. As I said, that I never thought of Sanskriti as an institution as it is today in one go. It was not kind of a imposed from the top. It grew organically, just as the resources came, just as I met more people, I learned more, I knew, people inspired me, people talked to me. Land was bought, collection is started, institution has been established with awards, but then the direction, what else to do. By that time, I have also decided that I'm not going into social kind of activities or the political activities, but I'll concentrate on culture, because I thought art and culture is a neutral area, and in which there is no agenda of its own, because it's a sharing primarily. So therefore, I looked at it from that point of view, and I thought this is the area in which I would like to, and maybe it was deep inside me, but I realized it is now for me. But at the same time, I didn't want to just, say, do the Kavi Sammelan or Mushaira or dance performance and that kind of a thing. I always looked at things, how you can do a path breaking or some kind of, a pilot project of a kind, and then so that it's new and it becomes an instrument of change. So that is, I looked at it from that point of view. And then, say for example, Neemrana, when we purchased it, was a ruin. There were no doors and windows. Roofs have fallen down. It was a total ruin, and people was misused by the villagers. But then we started working on that, and we thought that, to be honest with you, I always thought that Neemrana will be 50% commercial, 50% cultural. But somehow it didn't work out, because the other partners thought it otherwise. And that is how Sanskriti came about, because I had already bought the land, so I thought let's do it here. And in 1989, we did the groundbreaking ceremony of Sanskriti. After that, Neemrana work has started. By 1989, we had 17 rooms in Neemrana. It was functioning, and it became a trendsetter project in any case. Now there are 1,000 Neemranas, because that was the one. The Maharajas used to sell their palaces for 5 lakhs and 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs and 30 lakhs. But now they don't sell even their garages, So that's a change, And because, you see, I personally feel the great mistake which cultural institutions and cultural activities have made, in my opinion, they never realize the importance of the economics. So everything is by emotions, sentiments, and passion, and good intentions, everything. But, unless the heritage conservation or heritage itself or culture itself is a profitable proposition, why should people do it? You see, after independence, India has changed. And by mid 1980s, people became aspirational. People wanted to do something. And unless something interests them and sustains them economically, why should they do it? And that was a mistake which we did all the time, because government-funded institutions survived. Rest of it, nothing happened. I mean, the people individually did good things, but they died, soon. I had a different thing in mind. I said, whatever we do, it should be economically viable. So therefore, when I thought of this land, I thought, let me think of how we can make it economically viable also. So therefore, we thought of residency program, which will give us some money. Museum collection, of course, you have to spend your own money, but ultimately museums can also bring in some money to sustain museum itself. Both the activities, incidentally, of course, Neemrana is a big thing now, economically not only viable but also expanding. But Sanskriti also has become economically viable by way of many things, because I also did some corpus building. We tried to do that. Ford Foundation gave us some grant, and also a matching grant. Then we raised some money. INTACH came later. But I think, I personally feel that it is very important why things are not happening in the heritage conservation field. Why, say, heritage cities are, this whole concept of heritage cities is not working. Because we never thought how we can make that kind of, sustainability of that kind of thing. It has happened to some extent in Rajasthan, because people are using their havelis and people are using their forts and that kind of thing. And that was primarily because of Neemrana initiative. To some extent, it is happening in Ahmedabad, where things are changing. Now, to some extent, it is happening in Pondicherry. Wherever the people, those who are involved with heritage conservation, were also thought of economics, things are functioning. Elsewhere, it is not. But I personally feel there is a great scope, and one can. It's a. See, if we make heritage something of a past, I think then we are lost. We have gone. We have lost it. We lost the plot. But if we can convert heritage or conservation as something for tomorrow also, then we have made it. Because you see, to look at it from the past, whether it's a religion, whether it's a philosophy, if you slot it into one kind of period, it's a lost case. But if you can make it future, then it works. That has been my approach, and I think perhaps in both the cases of Neemrana and Sanskriti, we have been able to achieve that. So far so good.
I think these are very important points you've raised, and arising out of it, there are two questions that occur to me. One is, what is your sense of what can happen to what are called monuments protected by the Archaeological Survey? Because they get a bad press, as you know. They've done it for years. For 40 years I've seen nothing but criticism of the way they're maintained, and it becomes a little tedious to keep on reading this and sensing it. So what can be done there, if you would like to answer that? The other question is that I noticed that suddenly there's a flurry of activity in Shahjahanabad with restoring of havelis. I've heard of 3 which are going on at the moment. What is your sense of that, and do you think it's augurs well for the future, or do you think they're rather a mixed kind of bag of projects?
After metros, all of a sudden people have realized that something should be done and something can happen to Delhi, because people have started going there. Fortunately, it has the same character. Dariba is the same business. Kanari Bazar is the same business. Chandni Chowk is the same business, more or less. Khari Baoli is the same business. Nai Sadak is the same business. Chowdhury is the same business. With this kind of character of the city, remaining the same. And because Delhi itself is so congested done, the footprints can't be changed. So footprints are going to be the same all the time. But at the same time, this buying one or two Havelis, but simultaneously one should not forget that if the two Havelis have been purchased, which is good and renovated, and can be put to use. It may not catch up fast because it requires, because both the projects perhaps I know of, they have been done by very resourceful people. They may not make any money, and they can still spend money to renovate them and to do whatever they are. But unless it is economically viable, why people should preserve it? I've got dozens of cousins, those who are Havelis. First of all, most of the Havelis have been, divided into 100 people now. And nobody owns it, this thing, and they want to sell it. Secondly, the price of the Haveli is zero, and the price of the land is 10,000. That's the kind of difference, So land is more important than the building. So unless we have on board all the stakeholders, and the government also comes in, and they become, it's a will for the government to change it. I think it may not be possible, in my opinion. There will be stray examples, good examples. I had suggested once that if the TAD Havelis are purchased or this thing by the government or anybody, and can be given to fashion designers, for example, to have their showrooms and have their boutiques or something, it will work. That kind of thing. Because we need that kind of a provocation. Okay, this is how it can be done. But I personally feel that we don't have to look at it from that point of view. According to me, my understanding, there are about 200 buildings in the old Delhi, which are government buildings, are owned by the government or owned by the institutions. Even if we concentrate on them, our approach towards old Delhi has been wrong. First of all, it is bits and pieces. All the stakeholders are not together. They have never met, actually. The projects are envisaged. Tons of money flows, moves around, and a lot of discussions, talks, but nothing has gone. Say, Jama Masjid project is lying for 10 years to and fro. I personally strongly feel that if we can do three things. And both these projects are doable, because you see, there are lots of idealistic projects, But I personally feel that the doable things and the deliverable things are important. What can possibly be done? Let's put it this way. With the Jama Masjid project being monitored by the court, it's possible to improve Jama Masjid precinct and merge it with the Red Fort. Red Fort is a World Heritage Site. Therefore, it becomes one, and it's good enough. The same way, Chandni Chowk project, Shahjahanabad Chandni Chowk project, I'm a director of the Shahjahanabad Redevelopment Corporation. For 10 years, we are going to and fro, but nothing has happened. But because every officer comes with a different perception, every government comes with a different perception, and people have vested interest, and nothing has happened. Nothing, absolute, zero. It's a pity. For example, Chandni Chowk project is half done. So if somebody comes with the idea of tram, so then it's held up like that. So it can be, if Chandni Chowk can be improved, Jama Masjid and this thing, Red Fort could be merged together. I think we have made it to some extent. Chowdi Vidar and other things will follow. Daribakala can be maintained as it is, or something like that, and make it as much as area as possible, or practical or feasible as a pedestrian area. Things can change, because all over the world, the old cities and have been converted into pedestrian zones. But after providing lot of parking space, lot of
As far as I know, there is parking space which is not being used, they're like park. So there is a I'm a little hopeful after the recent attempt to control traffic and the fact that people have actually, obeyed the rules instead of flouting them. So maybe that is possible. So I think what you're saying, I feel that I'm totally in agreement on this, that if you pedestrianize it to the maximum and control the vehicles, that itself is a long way to go. And the restoration of the organic connection between Jama Masjid and Lal Killa, to my mind, again, is very important, because somehow they seem to be like, the city and the port. It should be sort of integrated well. So that's a good idea. So do you have any thoughts about the proposal which was being mooted about nominating Delhi or two sections of the city for a World Heritage City?
I think it was a wrong idea to begin with. I was against it, although Delhi chapter, I was associated with Delhi chapter, and that chapter, you see, you are putting yourself against 500,000 vested interests if you make any such move. That is why I mentioned Jama Masjid and Red Fort and Chandni Chowk and few areas, because it could have been possible. I personally feel that instead of declaring the whole of Delhi or some areas as a heritage city, if we would have concentrated on 3 areas or 4 areas. For example, if we would have concentrated on Qutub Minar, ASI. So if it is ASI, it's a protection. And it is easily doable. We have already invested a lot of money in that. 60 monuments have already we have done. And there are 100 monuments around, and it will be a very beautiful prison for a heritage prison. Now, Humayun's tomb is another thing which could be, now with that, what Aga Khan Foundation has done, the intervention with if it is clubbed with Nizamuddin and Sundar Nursery,
yes,
it can be a beautiful prison.
Yes.
You can extend it up to Safdarjung tomb. You can include Lodi Road in that. So that becomes a beautiful prison. Latino Bangalore zone has got some checks and balances in any case. You can pressurize for that. And the fourth is that you make Jama Masjid and Red Fort and Chandni Chowk as a heritage area. Now all these 4 projects are doable or deliverable, and nobody will have any objection to it, because a lot of work has been done, a lot of possibilities are there. You are not putting your foot on the toes of hundreds of thousands of people. So only then it can happen, and courts will be with you. You see, the activist conservationist has to understand that you have to understand the economic viability. You have to be strong enough to have a carrot in one hand and a stick in one hand, which I did during my tenure. We'll come to it later. And also a lot of, what I should say, passion and dreams, which you can share with the like-minded people. Involve those people. Make a big lobby. That is the kind of work which should be done by the heritage activists, than to just, give a lecture in IIC. Because in India we find that it's a tendency that by people feel that by saying it they have done it. This never happens. You can't, in my opinion, only say things. You have to do things, and that has been my approach all through. And I think I'm quite happy about it.
Mr. Jain, that's been such an interesting conversation. I learnt a lot. Thank you very much. And I'm afraid we're not quite through, because I want to hear from you, and we can do it in another session. I would like you to speak about the whole rather oddly framed term heritage management.
And also about Sanskriti.
Yes, and of course about Sanskriti. and also the PIL movement that you
sure.
started in Delhi, which I think was again very innovatory. So these three things, a little more about Sanskriti Museum, talking about it as it functions, and about the PIL movements you started while in TAC, and most important to my mind, taking it to the future, what we should do about managing and enjoying and conveying our sense of heritage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.